So, hi everyone, and welcome to How to Build a Creative Business in a Noisy World. This is my new series called the Hindsight series, with Sharon, who works for me, who you'll now have listened to her interview with me, which I recorded earlier this week. But you're here because you want to learn about building a business. I want to help you do that. But I also, you will know if you've dug deep into my website that love placing importance in every day. I like to try and help people with their well-being. So this is me speaking to family, friends, professionals about what they do, how they find ways to cope with fear, and it's called the Hindsight series. And today I have Claire Kelly. Hi, Claire Kelly.
Hi, Ali Hart. This feels
Good.
so
I
strange to
thought you'd
be
frozen
this
there a
way
bit.
around.
So Claire Kelly, just to give anybody a bit of background if you're new here, Claire and I have our own podcast called Voice Notes, the podcast, because we wanted to discuss everyday conversation about the things that matter. So you will know from me saying that Claire and I have similarities. We have three boys. We also view life some ways very similar, and that is why we started the podcast. But then equally, we're very different people, and I find value in how she lives and what her job is. So I want her to share with that today. So you're very welcome, Claire.
Thank you for having me, Ali. Like I said, it feels so strange to be this way around. Even just like I was saying this morning when we were setting up, I was like, oh, okay. Ali's gonna explain
Yes.
things. Okay.
Well, that's the other thing. Anybody who's new to the podcast or who's been around for a while, you'll now see we now have it on YouTube as well. So I'm on there, so you get to see Claire's face. In terms of our Voice Notes podcast, I'm the brunette, she's the blonde. Um, Tell me a little bit. I have to remind myself when I'm talking to friends and family that people don't know you. So tell me a little bit about you, what you do, what's important to you, just a little summary.
A little summary of me. Well, like Ali said, I have three kids. I'm a mom. I have a business. My business is in well-being. So I've been a massage therapist for, oh my goodness, I started my business about 9 years ago, primarily sort of massage therapy and sort of hands-on therapy and things like that. And over time, it sort of moved and progressed with the things that I've wanted to do. So now I work in mental health and I'm a trained counselor. So I still do some hands-on things when we're not in COVID land. But yeah, so a lot of mental well-being, relaxation, just the things that sort of feed us and make us feel better physically
Yeah.
and mentally.
Brilliant. And you have three boys, the same as me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mom of
Yes.
three.
Mom of three. And then tell me, so what was did you, in terms of school life, where do you live? I forgot to say that.
Yeah, well, I live in Scotland, so I'm in Aberdeenshire. So quite rural. Anyone who's listened to voice notes, often Ali and I joke about how we live in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
I always say that the village I live in, I mean, it's a lovely village, but you'd only go there if you had to go there.
But it's
So,
so picturesque. You'd go there with a camera.
yes. Well, we're probably about 15 miles from the start of the Cairngorms National Park. So we have
Okay.
beautiful rolling hills and everything where we are, but we're so close to like proper Scottish wilderness. So it's really, really beautiful. But we live right on the edge of the village. So
Okay.
we've easy access to everything, but we've also got 5 acres and I've got chickens and rescue chickens and dogs. So it all sounds really picturesque, but also it's, the middle of nowhere. So
Yes. Yes. And your hubby then, at, he works.
he works away. So he
Mhm.
works in Azerbaijan. So he's here every every couple of months or so. This man pops up and lives in my house.
I know, we have fun video calls together with our
Yeah.
husbands because Claire's Chris and my Michael are similarly wired in many ways.
Many ways. Yeah.
And tell me then about school and where you lived before where you are now.
I've always lived in the Shire. The Shire, got to sound like a hobbit. But we've always sort of been rural. I've never, apart from when I was at university, I lived in the city
Okay.
then. So I've always let my parents to live in a small village, or again outside a small village. So I did like the small country primary school. Then I moved to the big school,
Okay.
which was in a town called Ellen, which was like the biggest sort of school of the area. It's all not quite like the schooling that you guys have in Northern Ireland.
Was it mixed as well, but girls and boys or
Yeah, just everybody. If you're in the catchment, that's where you went.
Okay.
And then so I did 6 years there, and then I went on to uni, went to Aberdeen University and studied a degree in politics and international relations, which is very different to what I
Wow.
do now. And I think it quite surprises people sometimes, especially all the politics that's been going on in the world just now. And I'll sort of drop something and they're like, "Oh," and I'm like, "Oh yeah, did I never tell you?" And then
So, just sidetrack then momentarily. I feel like I didn't know that. So tell me, do you get really passionate now about it? Like, is that just a really ignorant thing for me to ask? Or do you, like, how do you view things having studied? Did you study that for like 3 years as well?
4 years, yeah, it was
4 years?
honors degree. So Claire Kelly, MA Hons, thank you.
There she is. There she is.
There she is. I'll drop that in. I got when I was studying it, what I really enjoyed was like the ideologies behind things and why people do what they do, which I guess sort of makes sense that the job that I do now, sort of the people side of it and attitudes and stuff. And I think I maybe sickened
True.
myself with it. So by the time I left university, I was so tired of people and the way people
Mm-hmm.
behaved.
Mm-hmm.
But I have over the years, and maybe it's because when I left university, so I started when I was 17, so I was only 21 when I was still a baby.
Yeah.
So I probably didn't. I think many people would agree. Like once you leave university, apart from what you do, if it's not your passion, you can just get so fatigued with the whole thing. And I think a lot of why I went to university was because that's what I didn't know what else to do, and I had the gig,
Yeah.
so it
Yeah.
was like, well, just
And can you go straight into a job with that, or was it a bit like me where you're kind of just off the deep end? You're like, what's happening in the what am I meant to do?
well, there's
Or the way, because it's not like classic like teacher
yeah. Well, there's no way I'd have gone into politics after
or
studying it. Like I said,
medical
I was
or
so done
Mhm.
with everything. So I left university and got a graduate job at an oil and gas company,
Okay.
which again, living in Aberdeen, that's kind of the industry you fall into because
Yeah.
it is an oil city still, but it was so predominant. So I got onto a graduate scheme there as a commercial graduate
Okay.
with no business acumen at all. So
Uh-huh.
I don't know how I scored that. I must have just impressed at my interview. I don't know. And I worked there for 7 years.
Okay.
I was in sourcing, so went in as a buyer, buying stuff, buying nuts and bolts and things, and I enjoyed it,
Wow.
but it wasn't me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wasn't
And
it?
that was very much a 9 to 5 job, wasn't it? So that was you getting up, and then I love to hear about the banter sometimes, Christmas parties and things. So that was very much like office, right? Is
Off,
that
yeah, proper office, and I liked it for a long time. But I think again because I was quite green to the whole office environment, but I did get a little bit like, really? Okay.
yeah. But it taught you, I'm sure, a lot, right?
Yeah, it absolutely did. And I really enjoyed sort of like connections you'd make, and I'm still very good friends with a lot of the people that I worked with. A
Okay.
lot, okay, maybe five, but it was just, and I think it's an experience that was good to have worked in an office and seen things and office politics, and
Well, it's a
I
bit like I did. I was a classroom assistant as well, and that was the most formal, apart from waitressing and like looking at the child minding and different things. The most sort of formal, like get up, go to by
Mhm.
the bell, seeing how it's like in the staff room, and your holidays are dictated by that, but also the security of a pay packet every month.
Yeah.
It is really good to experience that. I believe.
I think I did the whole waitressing thing as well. I think a lot of the jobs I learned, I was like, "Oh, this is not for me." I think
Yeah.
my favorite job, apart from what I do now, was I really liked work when I worked in retail.
Okay.
Like just some of the jobs I did, and I was in retail, and it was like, in fact, it's weird. I dreamt about it last night. I was doing a stock take.
Like clothes retail, food retail, or
Yeah, clothes. When I did waitressing, and I wasn't cut out for waitressing. I wasn't
yeah,
a cut out for people who drank.
yeah.
But yeah, so I did retail. I was a deputy store manager for a charity shop for a while, which was that
Brilliant.
was really interesting because there was like such a mix, and I worked with so many different people, and
Yeah.
had like so
And
people
you
on
don't
different.
exactly have the same stock coming into the charity
No,
shop.
no, but sure, you got some gems.
I was going to say, you see, my friend Emma, who I'm going to get in the podcast here as well, she now owns Everyday Oil, which is, I think I've talked to you about it before. It's over in the States. But then she like started, she always talked about this oil, and now she makes on this massive scale. It's big, right? In Vogue, everything. But
Mm.
she used to work for a clothing company that supplied all the vintage stores in one part of Brooklyn.
Oh,
So she got, so I went to like the factory with her. I have a little Coach bag that I still have from us rooting through. She got to see all the bags that were like dumped at the they were dumped on the borders and everything, they were like, they were able to root through them and everything. But we loved that because she always got like the best picks
yeah,
for, so that's the good thing about charity.
I loved it. Yeah, I still have some of the
Like
clutch
me,
bags
I
and
give
stuff.
away all stuff. As you know, I'm ruthless.
Mm.
So I was thinking about these Marc Jacobs boots that I had, and they rattled about the boot so long whenever we were getting the house moved. And Michael was like, "What am I doing with these? What am I doing with these?" And I was like, "Oh, you're dropping them to such and such." And then we never got round to it. And he came into me just when I had COVID and was like, "What am I doing with these?" And I was like, "You're chucking them." So someone somewhere is gonna do well out of those Marc
Oh my
Jacobs.
gosh, what size are your feet are a different size to mine. I'm not going to be.
6, and I really was ruthless because they were quite cool, but
Yeah.
I just, you know what I'm like. I don't like things and stuff. I just get overwhelmed.
See, that's where you and I are so different, isn't it? Because I have a lot. Because I always think one day I'm going to need these sequin trousers.
I
One
know.
day.
And the laugh is I have actually a few regrets from moving because I've now decided, Sharon and I decided, my mother friend Adele, we're not going to try not to buy clothes this year. And both of them were like, I have a lot of clothes, Al. You don't. And I was like, I know the thought of me, but we're allowed to borrow. You're allowed to borrow clothes. So tell me then, you went on, so then you had the boys, and then how did you think about self-employment, or were you?
Yeah. So I
Mhm.
had, so I left the oil company. So that, well, Lockheed's nearly 10 years old now. So yeah, so this time 10 years ago,
Yep,
my God, that was the
I
first time I
know.
left. And I knew I didn't want to go back because I wasn't enjoying it, and it wasn't for me. And I think when you've left somewhere to have your child, like the things that were going through my head is, if I wanted to pay for childcare to continue doing that job,
Mhm.
I'm going to have to work all these hours and I'm not going to see my child. And I thought, I'm just giving away my money and my baby,
Yeah.
which, but to me, I was like, it doesn't make, and I was in a fortunate position that my husband is also in oil, and we didn't have any sort of financial issues at that time. So it was like, well, that's okay. We can afford, if that's what you want to do,
Yeah.
that's what you want to do. But he was like, you do need to find something. And I knew I had to, because I'm not the type of person that cannot. And I'd been doing sort of extra studying while I'd been working. So I'd been doing open university courses in counseling and
Okay.
therapy, and I like putting bits and pieces together for what I enjoyed, but I
Mhm.
couldn't see how I was going to do what I wanted to do. I just thought, what do I knew where I wanted to be. I wanted to be self-employed. I wanted to work around my family. I knew the areas I wanted to be in. So there was a bit of trial and error. And I think I wasn't so much scared, but it was because I didn't have an income. I was looking at all these courses to train, and they seemed so expensive to me. And looking back
Mhm.
now, there's always ways that you can do this. And I was like, I'll never be able to save up £900 to do that, things like
Mhm.
that. And really, absolutely could. And then so lucky I
Well, it's
had
hard
then,
to see the value in them, isn't it?
yeah,
It's hard to like look at that and be like, what if I come out of the end of that and I've still nothing and nowhere to go? Yeah.
exactly. And then I was like, in childcare, and everything just seemed so difficult. And then I set up a business with one of my friends who was a PT.
Okay.
We were doing stuff in like sort of sports centers and things, and sort of fitness evaluations, which I was trained in, and she was obviously trained with her PT side.
Okay.
And that sort of fell apart. And I took a step back, and I thought, well, I
Mhm.
still want to do something for me. So I had to make a call at that point,
Okay.
with what I wanted to do. And at the same time as I was like choosing what to do, I got a phone call from the company I'd worked at, and they said, "Hey, we've got a new position. Would you like it?"
Okay.
And I was like, "Thanks for thinking of me." And that, because I was in such a state of limbo, I was like, "Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
do it."
Okay.
So I went back, and by the time I started back, I was 10 weeks pregnant with my second son,
Okay.
which is always ideal for a big company to have someone do that.
And that was you back as a buyer? Sorry, no.
No, no, I went in as, I can't remember the job title, but it was a brand new role, so everything had to be
Okay.
sort of set up, which was really interesting. But again, because I knew I was going to be leaving, and so I was kind of driven by the money again. I was like, I just need something. I need something
Yeah.
to occupy me.
Yeah, which is fun.
Um, and then when I was pregnant with Adam, my second born, um, I was like, well, stuff it. I need to find something to do. And then that's when I went down the route of hands-on therapy.
Okay.
Um, and then that's that. And ever since that, I've just been working away. So I did that for 9 months, had him, and I could have started my next course straight away to get me into like the more advanced work,
Mm-hmm.
but not ideal with a newborn baby. So I then decided, well, at least I can, with what I've got so far, I can practice, but it would just be like Swedish and relaxation and
Okay.
pregnancy. So
And
in your
then, so that word of mouth as well was really
Mm,
strong for you too, wasn't it? Because you would
yeah.
do, you were saying one day about so like horse riders,
Hmm.
like you would be like a day of doing
Yes.
massage for it, because and that's something like a real that you really enjoyed that part, didn't you?
Yeah.
That, and then, but that would also go through corporate as well. Were you doing, or is that the Pilates?
That was the corporate work kicked off. Some sort of hands-on. Occasionally, I would do like a day's going into an office. You've probably seen it, the chair massage, which was really good. And it's nice because you get to meet so many people like coming in and out.
Yeah.
Wouldn't happen in COVID times. Can you imagine? Yeah,
No,
15
it's
minutes, new
so
person.
hard to believe that I
Yeah.
know. Anyway, it's for
Yeah.
another.
And that was good. And it was just nice to get out and about. But that came from, it was one of the women who I'd done my training with had called me up
Okay.
one day and said, Claire, are you free to do this? And then when I got there, I actually knew the company we were working for. So that sort of opened sort of inroads there. And yeah, the corporate work, the bulk of that is from one massage patient that'd been coming to me for years. And she knew I also did Pilates and was like, hey, do you think you could come to our office? And I was like, yes. So
Yeah.
like you say, so much of what I do is word of mouth, and but not so much like networking, but based on me, which I think is really, really nice. And
Yeah.
that's what I love about my business.
Well, that's what I'm always chanting about on here is like there is space for personal brand. I think that's what I've learned so much is and one thing I always say to the mentoring students too is like Nike and Adidas and Johnson's Baby, like they are what they are, but
Mhm.
actually personal brands are coming up. And I know you might be like, I'm not a personal brand, Al,
Mm.
but people buy from people, and that
Yeah.
even is in a corporate land as well.
See, this is I always thought I'm not really a personal brand because I'm offering a service
Yeah.
but the more I've learned, and especially and COVID has been really rough for me.
Mm-hmm.
But it's people that have keep coming back to me, and even like I've had patients sort of check in and say, oh, I know you can't do much, but can you do this just now? And that makes me feel
Valued, and it
yeah.
shows that people need you. Yeah.
Mhm.
And then so social media, that I'm assuming they're contacting you a lot of the time through social media, because I've essentially built my whole career on that.
We just had a naked 5-year-old run into the room, so
It's more the YouTube. It's more the YouTube.
oh god, yeah, the YouTube Darren, cut that out.
I think I should be able to put that in now. Maybe. Well, okay. Poor wee pet. So what was I saying there? Oh, social media. So, Claire, tell me, you're saying there, I'm assuming a lot of people are contacting you through social media, and you're saying like yours is, like hands-on product essentially.
Mhm.
How, well, not maybe a product, service. Do you feel social media has changed, has promoted, has helped? Because it's essentially free. That's what I always tell
Mhm.
people. And even in days when I hate it, I'm like, this is free, free, free. I'm not paying for a big banner. I'm not paying for a magazine ad or TV ad. Free. How
Mhm.
do you view it and view your business?
I love it. I think it's so good. My problem with it is I don't know how to put myself on it. And
Okay.
maybe and the reason for not knowing is because when my business was very much massage, there's not much I can show you when I was doing massage.
No.
That's take pictures of people on a table. No, inappropriate, not
Yes.
not right. She's really loving this. Has got an elbow and a glute. So, and there's only a limit you can put on things. And also, I don't want to put a lot of things about people's bodies because I feel
Mhm.
that can discriminate between different types of bodies and can be like there's a whole world there which is quite muddled for that type of
Mhm.
business. So with the Pilates, when I was still sticking with the physical therapies, I was like, right, and the Pilates, I was like, that this is easier because I can put up a video that's sped up, that's not like, oh, look at me, I can do, there's no there's different ways to do it.
Yeah.
But then when I moved into the mental health and I'm counseling more, I really struggled because there's the boundaries. And this is something that I talk about all
A
the time.
lot. Yeah. Yeah.
Boundaries. And because do you want to see the person who's been your counselor, who's being very professional and sitting in front of
Yeah.
you in sort of office attire, now on the internet doing a down dog or there's so
Well, I would say to that, you don't need to sorry to interrupt you, but like I think actually that just shows that you're a real person, not
yeah.
necessarily doing down dog. But anyway, sorry, continue, and then I'll add my penny's worth.
Yeah, so I think for me, it's just the adjustment for me to make sure that I'm portraying myself and my business how I want to be seen and how I want to be seen by different groups overall. Because I'm sure
Yeah.
there are people that go onto my page and I do put, I'm sure you've seen the breathing exercises I do. And then they probably think, aye, but what does she know about, the strained trapezius? Do you know what I mean? So it's really, I find it a juggle. And then I think, should I have more pages? But then I have enough because I also have my charity running page that I'm like, well, hang on, I can't have, how many fingers and how many pies can you have before you're,
Yeah. I listened to a really good podcast actually about this yesterday. It's Gary Vee, I often talk about, and someone had said something similar. Now, not a different, they were talking about, I think, products and about like very corporate stuff, but they were like, should I have like 4 pages or do I put it all under the one thing? And Gary was saying, but this is not this is not taking into account people's feelings, which I know is what your point is with this. But from a business point of view, he was like, put them all under the one roof, because they don't really care about different things and different logs, different logins. It cares about like content at mass, and the right people will find your stuff. So I don't know if that encourages or what, but I thought you were going to say that because I know that you're struggling with what people view and with what, but I feel that it's at the minute the world's just crying out for real. So the more real that you show, and if anybody that I know that has worked with you, and there actually are quite a few in Northern Ireland, I know that they buy into you as a whole, and that is actually really strong. It's really good, because I know that it took us a while for me to convince you that it actually is all under this beautiful umbrella, like the Pilates and the mind and the movement, like it's, and the counseling. But I do understand, I guess, I suppose, as you say, the more you put out, the more you'll see what is how you feel. But as you say, you have enough stresses as well in your life without adding stress of social media. It shouldn't be stressful.
Exactly. But since I've come up with the mind and movement package, which I've been doing for about a year now, that's when I was like, well, Claire, well, that's it. It is your mind and it is your movement. And then people, and it's like you're saying about the personal branding, and you've said it to me countless times, just when we've been having our own chats, like it is the buying into you. And the more I think about that, I'm like, well, that's it, because I do have people that have come to me for being a Pilates class, and I've got a message saying, Claire, listen, I would really appreciate if we could just could you spare me, a half hour and book in, and we do a little counseling session, and it may grow into more. I mean, I do have people that come to a class, and then we haven't gotten too in depth in the class. But then later contacted me, and I've been seeing them for over a year now for counseling.
Great.
But just like you say, it just depends on who you are, and if you click with your therapist in any way, so I have people that don't know any of the physical stuff I do, and only know me as their counselor, which is my therapist, which is really special to me, because that's just the bubble that they have me in, and they still, it's not like, oh, this is Claire who does it's,
but that's okay. I think that's the way it is with anything. I look at the girl, Lee, who I'm going to, female woman that I'm going to talk to as well, and I've spoken to you about her, the sort of spiritual side of everything, and I can see she's doing a lot of hormone balance and a lot of things like that, and part of me would absolutely love to engage in that. But for now, well, I've actually finished my sessions with her. I loved my one-to-one. It's sometimes you hold on to what you love about someone, and then that's okay. So in terms of that, so that's touching, I guess, a little bit on fear about holding back, right, in terms of social media, but even changing your job, homeschooling, anything. I love to find out how people deal with fear. Do you have any tips on that? Any thoughts on that? You can come from a therapist point of view if you want, or you can come just from Claire Kelly getting up in the morning thinking, holy crap.
I don't know what I'm fearful of just now. I know if you'd asked me this time last year, not like last year, in the summer, I was definitely a more fearful person. And I guess maybe when I think of fears, I can only go from sort of how things have been, in the past year and a half. And I don't want to be COVID heavy, but that's the fear. My biggest fears have been, or are,
or just how you deal with it, how you
well, I'm just thinking the things that worried me, sometimes I just sit in it, man. Sorry, being this very chilled the way to say it. I just I'm scared, and that's that. We had this thing last summer with the kids when we were homeschooling, And I was like, we had bubble days, and it's something that I need to talk about on my own page as well. But a bubble day was the day where you're just like, you know what, I can't handle it. And
Yeah.
any one of us, because it was just me and the boys for the whole of lockdown. So I was like, any of us could say, that's it, we're not doing it. So we turned off the news, we didn't watch anything, we went into the garden, we filled the paddling pool, we didn't look at homeschool, we didn't log it, like nothing.
Yeah.
And that was it. And there was some weeks where like every second day they were like, Mom, bubble. And I was like, yeah. I'd call it loads of times. Like it wasn't even a case of it's too much for the kids, you know, and I'm giving them a break. It was like, sack this, lads, I'm having a break. We're not doing it. And that's, I think sometimes I sit in it and other times I go, do you know what? You don't need to be scared. You don't need to feel this way. So don't. Sometimes there are feelings that we can't escape from, but others we can. And if we can, just take yourself out of that situation. And that's probably how I deal with it.
Yeah, I love that bubble day thing. Actually, when I did a live on Instagram this morning, and I was talking, it's on IGTV now, but how perfection, and what was it you just said there about bubble days and about just forgetting? Yeah, I just forgetting that you're not going to get everything ticked, on your list as well. It's like it's okay. It said to me on Tuesday when I was really not doing. I was just like overwhelmed. But that's cool. I love that idea of just sitting in the fear.
Yeah.
And in terms of your hopes, dreams, do you have anything? Like, it was really cool talking to Sharon because she was talking about just contentment and how like that is actually a beautiful part of life. And I think that's what I'm really hoping in my own life and in what I share is that happiness over cash, over client base, over acceptance by other people. But equally, I do want to like go to France or do something like I think that I like having the goals. I think they're important for the business too. Do you have any big dreams you want to share?
I really want to get a sub 3:30 marathon.
I should have known that was going to come into that. Of course you do. Love it.
Well, that was my dream for last year.
You got to 350. You got below 350, didn't you?
Yeah, I got 344. Yeah, baby. But
just tell us quickly, how many marathons have you run? People don't know this about you, remember?
50 odd.
Say it again.
50.
55.
I have some friends that could tell you the exact number.
And how many ultra marathons?
5 or 6.
Unreal. I've done 1 half marathon in my life. 2. 1 or 2.
Yeah, but you had great crack though, didn't you? That second one.
Oh, I did. I think maybe it was my first proper one, was it? I didn't do one before that. I maybe did one myself when I was running along the coastal path. But my real one was with you, which is lovely. Because Claire and I get to see each other when COVID's not there. And I was planning to get across. I still am. I'm hoping. I feel like the boat. I'm going to just get in the boat one day.
The fact that you can see the ferry like that. Oh,
from our new near our new house. I know. So do you have any advice for people thinking about self-employment, thinking about, well, it's obviously a creative business in what I discussed, but in terms of just a business as well, building a business now that you're in it, now that you're mature in it, I would say as well, because you and I both now reflect back. Yeah, like I'm nearly 12 years in business. You're over 10, probably 10, 9 or 10. How you feel? What's your hindsight on that? What's your feelings and advice?
Hindsight is that it's not easy and it's going to be really, really hard. And you're absolutely going to say, I've really messed up. I shouldn't have done this. You're going to start several things and quit most of them. You're going to go in a direction you didn't even think you'd probably go in, but you kind of always thought you would, but you didn't think it would work. You're going to be told that you couldn't do it. People will love to tell you can't do it. That's going to be people's favorite thing. They'll ask you when you're getting a real job. You're not going to have any money for a lot of it. Then you're going to have loads of money. Then COVID might come around and just annihilate your business and have none again. But you'll do it. If you really believe in what you're doing, you can do it. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
Yeah. And that's the other thing, isn't it? It's like, it's not the end of the world. And I think I'd said on maybe one of our own podcasts there recently, or voice notes one, about it's okay if you change your mind. Remember I told you that like Alicia Keys thing? She had said she was like, I'm never wearing makeup again. Yeah. And then the guy from Maroon 5 came in and he was like, oh, you're wearing, like 3 years later, it's like, oh, you're wearing makeup. And she's like, and what the F? Like, she's like,
Yeah,
and it's true. I'll do whatever I want.
exactly. You just have to, and there's no overnight success. So I keep knocking on my mic.
I agree.
And people think there is, and people go, oh, suddenly you've got this and this, and do not look at what somebody else is doing. Do
Yeah.
not look. If I would have gone stir crazy if I had been comparing myself to people online throughout lockdown, all these businesses that didn't do anything online, and suddenly they did. I mean, Ali, you know that I had all my online stuff, and I was really, really proud, and there was not many people in my area that were doing subscriptions and things, and I had one, but all these people were doing the going to different sports halls and setting up classes and doing group things, which I didn't want to do because it didn't fit with my life. And then they're all stuck at home, but they had a big base of clients. So people's businesses like really flourished in lockdown, which I was amazing for them. Mine did not, because I had nowhere really to grow at that point, and I lost the headspace for doing it. Like,
well, and you have 3 kids. Like, you can't underestimate that's a job in itself. On your
and
own.
it was hard, but this time around I'm not so scared of things.
Yeah,
we'll see how that pans out. We may talk again in a few days, Ali, and I'll be like, dude.
Yeah, well, I think it's it's still a shambles, obviously, but it feels like everyone has a little bit of a more idea, like even the government in terms of funding, and like there's just seems to be drip feeding a few more glimmers of hope. I don't know for
Yeah, I think.
And then also in terms of the school, the teachers are a bit better, and then there's the vaccine. Yeah. I was going to ask you about that, but I think you're done. In terms of COVID, because it's
I know. Back up.
It's wick. Any final points? What are you reading right now? Oh, you're a good one to ask because you're always reading a book.
Not really reading just now. I've got a stack of books. Well, no, that's a lie. I'm reading The Salt Path, but I can't really get into it. Everyone's told me it's an amazing
Salt Path, right?
Salt Path. So it's about this couple. He has a terminal illness. They lose their home. They lose everything. It's a true story.
Okay.
So, and they're older. I think they're in their 60s, and they set off on this walk to walk the salt path down to Land's End, and it's autobiographical, and it's really good. But I'm one of these people, I've said this to you before, like I've raved, like when people rave about things too much, I'm like, whatever. Like I hype something up too much to me, and I'm just like, it's not going to live up to it. So I've been reading it for months, which isn't like me, and it is good, but I'm not really into it. But the other book I'm reading is called Sometimes Therapy is Awkward, and it's written by a therapist. The name of that. It's so good. And it's aimed at people who are therapists or want to be therapists or are just sort of in that world. And it's so like so true to the bone. And it's, there's so many like points I read and I'm like, yes, I do that. Or, like, and it's all like the feelings that you feel, but she does it in such a funny way. So like I've snorted out loud. I'm also reading, I'm not reading much.
There you go.
She's like, my nose is running. Barack's book.
Oh, interesting, because I'm reading Michelle Obama's book, and I was going to say a lot of hype over that, and I'm just not loving it yet.
No, I got halfway through, and I couldn't get into it. I don't know why.
Yeah, I'm really trying, but I want to finish it. I just finished the This Is Gonna Hurt. I think you've read it too.
Yes. Oh,
good, so good. But sad at the end.
He has another one as well. I can see it in my bookcase here.
Yes,
someone was The Night Before Christmas, and it's about when he's on the wards at Christmas time.
Right.
And that's similar. It's quite a much quicker read than that book, but it's still like you're laughing at one point, then your heart's broken, and then you're
wincing. Yeah. What's the last book before we go?
The last one is I'm reading another one by Joe Biden. I can tell there's a theme to my reading just now, a bit of politics.
And this is from the girl that said at the start, I'm not really into the politics.
Well, I'm just juggling a few. So, and it's called Promise Me Dad, and it was from years ago. It's when his
good. I'll have to read it.
Yeah, it's good, but it's about when his son Bo had the brain tumor. And so he was keeping it quiet, and Bo was still working and in politics himself. And it's about their life at that time. Now, I'm not really good with autobiographies, which is probably why I struggled with Michelle.
No, neither am I with Michelle's. Yeah. But Michael bought it from me, so I got it.
But I have really into the Joe Biden one because of what the topic is, I guess, and it's how he's dealing with his family and so
awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you for having me.
It's so lovely. I find it's just like at the minute it's like gravitating to what you love yourself, and I love just listening to conversations with like from the people that I follow on podcasts, hearing them be interviewed, hearing them have conversations back to back with friends, and people who are inspired, inspired by. So constantly inspired by you. I'm very thankful to have you in my life and to have you on the podcast.
Thank you. And likewise.
And thank you for saving the day with my Zoom that wasn't recording. So
that's what I'm here for, Ali.
Claire does this. Anybody who goes onto my free Academy, Ali's Academy Zooms will see I just end up saying, Claire, can you just record that and send it to me? Because I'm a big screen and I can't. So anyway,
I just love to have
thank you
for an audience. You know, that's it. Just involve myself a little bit.
There she is, CK. Well, have a good day. Thank you everybody for listening. This is the Hindsight series, and it has been lovely to have you along. It's been lovely to have Claire Kelly. You can find her on social media, CK Therapy, and also on her website, which is
cktherapy.co.uk.
There we go. And yeah, have a good rest of week. Stay faithful, keep going in your venture, and I will see you on the other side.